Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the SOULKATION podcast. I am honored today, and I'm going to tell you all why. Because I have the beautiful Patton Thoele. Is it Thoele?
Right? Absolutely.
She has a master's degree in counseling psychology. For many years, she was a hospice counselor, a grief supporter, a group facilitator, and a chaplain, as well as a psychotherapist. She started writing in her 40s, and she's authored countless books. And my favorite book that I talk about on every stage that I get on is The Courage to Be Yourself. And she currently resides in Colorado with her husband, Gene. Welcome to the SOULKATION podcast, Sue.
Thank you. This is fun, Logan.
I'm super excited. So I'm going to tell you all the story behind the book. So my mother passed away in 2014, and she passed away from breast cancer. So I was going through all of her books on her shelf, and I found a couple books that was written by Miss Sue. And this one, of course, stuck out to me the absolute most. Just the title just grabbed me immediately. And my mom had like notes after notes. I'm going to read page 6 to you all, a portion of page 6. But my mom had highlighted it, underlined it, circled it. So when I read it, I was like, okay, this part must be super good. And again, this is just page 6, right? So I went back and put hearts around it, hearts and stars. I'm like, this is so good. So from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you, because this was a book that my mom used for healing. Mm-hmm. And it was the same book that helped me heal from losing my mom. Every stage, every panel, I always mention your book.
I'm tickled. Yay.
I always mention your book. So when I say this is an honor, I really do mean it.
Oh, thank you, Logan. Really appreciate it.
Of course. So you started writing in your 40s. What made you even start writing books?
I couldn't not do it. It was like being taken by the scruff of the neck by the Muse. And I had been leading some women's groups with a friend of mine. And we found that no matter what the women were doing, whether they were stay-at-home moms or they had their own jobs or their own businesses, everybody sort of had a difficult time being themselves, and just felt like that was just, well, sometimes they didn't even know who they were. And so I was reading a book. I won't tell you the name of it, but it was a self-help book. And I got to the end of it, and they told me a lot of what was wrong with me or what I was doing incorrectly. And there were 3 pages at the end of it and I was on a little personal retreat. And I threw this book, I'm not proud of this, but I did. I threw this book against the fireplace and said, if I ever write a book, I'm going to make it practical. And then the Muse just got a hold of me, and I couldn't not do it. And interestingly enough, that was before computers were really big time. So this book was actually written on yellow legal pads.
Wow.
Right. And it was literally cut and pasted together and then taken to a typist. So, it's a pretty old book, but I really still love it. So, yeah.
It's amazing.
And then the writing Muse I just loved it. Yeah. So, I kept writing. Yeah. I was a therapist, so there was lots of material. A lot of, because as a therapist, I saw mostly women, because that's who comes to therapy usually. And I just realized we were all in the same boat. And the latest book I wrote really came out of, it's called Strength. And I just feel like our world is so out of balance that one of the things that could save our world really is to balance the female and masculine energy, or feminine and masculine energy in us and in males and in the world. And a lot of men are on that bandwagon too, even the Dalai Lama, which I really appreciate. So yeah, it's just been an unexpected career and an absolute joy to write.
Yeah. I can see it, and I read it, so I agree. But I'm definitely going to add strength to my list. I might get it today. and start on it today. So since you brought up men and you talk about this in the book, how do you balance not smothering a man, but also making a suggestion?
Oh, wow. Gently, carefully. I don't do it quite so much as gently and carefully. No, that's not right. I still do it gently and carefully, but not out of fear now. It's more out of respect and just compassion.
Wow.
I used to be afraid to make suggestions to men because I was born and raised in Missouri, if you're going to be, but if Missouri, if you come from there, we weren't encouraged to make suggestions to men. So I didn't really learn that. I had to teach myself that. And so I still do it with carefully. I really believe in careful communication, no matter who you're talking to.
That's good.
And communication that is complementation, not a competition. And so gently and carefully and compassionately, but I would do the same thing with a woman. I just wasn't afraid to do it with women as much before. So, yeah, it's all growth.
Yes, daily. So you do it gently and carefully, but now you don't do it with fear. That's so good.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm old. I'm older than I thought I would be ever. And I'm really tickled about that. And I'm lucky to be healthy. But this year I'll be 80. And that to me is just, kind of wonderful. Yeah. And my mom, whom I was close to too, like you were yours, it sounds like, she died when she was 73. So every year since I've been 73, every year since then has just felt like an incredible gift. And I've sort of dedicated those to her. Yeah.
I'm not going to cry. Okay.
I might.
Okay. So and I coach with women all the time. And
I read that.
all the time. And what I hear often, and something that lives within me that I have to consistently work on myself, is not waiting on happy. Like we're just sitting and waiting on happy. Why do you think we wait on happiness?
Once more, I think it's training. And I think it's a matter of attitude, and we can always change that. It's a matter of perception. And that's why it's so wonderful work like you do, which is to help people change their perceptions and just change old limiting beliefs and old habits. I think a lot of it's habit, Logan. Yeah, I do. Yeah. And we can change, and we can help ourselves, and truly it's women help women do this too, and men do too, but it's the sisterhood of women in groups or women's in coaching sessions or therapy sessions is magical. We really do help each other become free.
Yeah, freedom is a beautiful thing.
It's necessary, and it's our birthright. And yet some of us who have been trained as we were, most of us, we have to relearn that right. Or absorb it at a different level, to live it rather than just speak it.
That's so good. It's so good. Oh, that hurt. That would hurt. So I'm gonna go through the book and things that I just pulled out that I thought was just amazing. You said,
Great.
No matter how I pretzeled myself, I wasn't able to please everyone. How do we get away from trying to please everybody, especially those close to you?
That's a toughie. It's a toughie. I think one of the things that you concentrate on is self-love and acceptance. And And I would add, because self-love is sometimes really kind of ephemeral, and I don't know what that means. So what I what I have tried to do is be as kind to myself as I would try to be to somebody else. And my little motto for years and years has been live gently with yourself and others. And so if I can live with myself with gentle kindness, that to me feels like love. And now I've forgotten the original question. I was rambling around. What was your original question?
No matter.
Pleasing people.
Pleasing people.
Okay. Yeah, pleasing people. So if I can be gentle and kind with myself and consistently count on that from myself, then it's less imperative that I please other people. Because then when I have that acceptance and love from in myself, I don't need it so badly outside myself.
Yeah.
I still like it. Yeah. I mean, we all do. And it's wonderful. I think we thrive on acceptance. But our own is the bedrock.
That is so good. You said an unspoken fear is much more powerful than the one that is shared.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, yeah. Well, if it's unspoken, well, often we're not even real cognizant of our own fears. So first of all, we need to become aware of what they are inside ourselves. And in this book especially, I have the 3 A's, which is, aware, accept, or aware, acknowledge, accept. And I've expanded that as the years went on. But so to be aware of it and then to acknowledge it is like, it's like taking it into the light. Anything taken into the light has a chance to transform. Fears that are left in us, they just get bigger, and they're like mushrooms. They just mushroom, and then can take over our lives. And honestly, my major fear was the fear of rejection. So shoot, I did everything in the world to try to avoid rejection. And when I began to really know that that's what was ruling me, then I began to share it. And that's a lot of what that book is all about. The Courage to Be Yourself is recognizing and disempowering or transforming fear because truly fear can be fuel. And if we work with it and we get it to a manageable size through sharing it and working with it and so forth, then it can fuel a lot. I mean, it fueled that book as an example.
Yeah.
Eventually. Yeah. And gave me a hell of a lot of good stories to put in there.
Yes. Your story, I put LOL on so many different pages. It was something you said about a grandparent. You have to be as tall. You have to stand in your own right, or you have to stand up in your own shoes, even if your grandparent was just as tall. I was like, that is a hilarious analogy, but it doesn't matter. Just like faith, you can't walk on somebody else's faith. You can stand beside it, stand in it until you have enough,
and be inspired by it.
Yeah, but you have to have your own.
Yeah.
That's so good. Okay. So you said when we turn our lives over to someone or something else, we are in a codependent cage. In that cage, we become drugged by denial and depression.
Yep.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, we've probably all been there.
Yeah.
And that's another reason we do that is twofold. One, we're not really loving ourselves enough and giving ourselves enough of that confidence and atta girls and so forth. The other thing is that we think we got to fix everybody else. It's first of all, it's not our job, and second of all, it's not possible. So,
Yeah.
But we're trained in that. We're women. We sort of naturally do that because we are natural nurturers, and a lot of times, if people would listen, we could really help them. But they've got their own path, and especially if they're like our kids, then they also are sort of geared to say, "Not that, please," because they have to get out on their own too.
Yeah. Do you think it's pointless to give advice? I think we froze for a moment. So do you think that it's pointless for us to give advice to people then? Especially women, or
Especially who, women?
I would say
Or,
women, yeah.
unsolicited advice, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think advice is overrated. We don't really know what's best for other people, you know. So it's I think the big thing, really, Logan, is when we truly listen and we're actually truly present to people, we give them the witnessing that they need to come up with their own advice.
Yeah.
And so, pointless. If somebody asks, then I would probably say, well, gosh, what I might do would be thus and so. But if we have the word should embedded in anything, it's better not to say it. We don't know. You know?
What do you think we should say instead of should?
You know, one choice might be for me to do thus and so. I don't know if that'd work for you or not, but yeah. You know, I don't know what I'd do in your situation, but right now I want to punch somebody out, you know, 'cause, but hoping that nobody would do that. But truly, the more, if I have a client, not, I don't call them patients, but a client, they're coming to me for advice, so to speak. So I might suggest, just like I do in the book, exercises that might work. But I would try not to, and of course I'm human, so I probably do. But I would try not to say, well, I think you should have blah, 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 blah. Because how do I know? You know?
That's humility.
I also come from an alcoholic family. And so there were so many times when I wanted to say, you know, basically, you should stop drinking. But you know, that's kind of obvious. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
My sister actually died at 49 of alcoholism. Sometimes it's just heartbreaking because we think, and maybe we're right, that if they would just ABC, but everybody's got an ABC on their own, you know, really. Yeah. And our job, in my opinion, is to hold them and say, well, you know, that's not a choice I would probably make, but I'm not in your shoes. I don't know.
That's good.
It's hard. So hard.
It is very hard, especially as a coach. I mean, you're a therapist, so yeah. That's hard.
So, you know, advice, I'm thinking more in terms of friends, but because I'm not really doing therapy now. It'd be interesting to ask my clients if they thought I gave them advice, which they probably wanted if they came. So I probably did. But now in this time of my life, I don't much.
Yeah. Wish I could fly to Colorado and sit on your couch. I would.
You can fly to Colorado.
Okay, so before you say yes, this is another thing you said. Ask yourself if you're merely saying yes out of fear or guilt. Why is this important for us to ask that question before we say yes?
Well, because it's kind of our subconscious or whatever bent to say yes just willy-nilly and wear ourselves to death. And so I really see us as chalices, especially women, and just because it's a great feminine metaphor. And what I see us doing a lot is saying yes so much that we're like poking holes in the bottom of our chalice. So our energy leaks out when we're doing things, especially if we don't really want to, or if we don't really feel capable of. Of course, sometimes we have to stretch ourselves and do things we don't feel capable of. But our job is to not squander our energy. And if we say yes to too many things, even if we all want to do all of them, then we've got to be careful about how much we balance and have our energy still there, because we can give ourselves away. I had a client who said she felt like she was nibbled to death by ducks. And that just seemed great. And to me, because it's a little bitty every now and then, and saying yes when we don't want to is going against our heart's wisdom.
I hope you know I'm taking notes.
I'm glad. Yay. Okay.
Saying yes when we don't want to is going against our heart's wisdom. Ugh, that's so good. Okay. Another thing you said was, notice there is a difference between asking for what you need and expecting others to follow a hidden script we've written for them. So let's talk about these hidden scripts that we have for people that they don't know anything about.
Well, my favorite person to have hidden scripts for is my family, of course, and my husband especially. And I just have learned, because here I sit at this ripe age, and I've just learned what doesn't work from doing a lot of that and having a lot of stuff not work. And so basically, if I want something, then I've learned that it's just more powerful and kinder, and much, the results are much better to just say, I want you to stop that. I don't like that, so please stop that.
Yeah. And keep it simple.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of don't like it a little bit.
Or maybe I don't like it, but somehow, yeah. Mm-hmm. The waffling factor is huge in most of us. And that's one of the things that is really helpful when we can get so attuned to ourselves, or take the time to really be aware and understand what we want. Because sometimes we just approach situations and we're not sure what we want. So we kind of talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and don't get what we want because we're not really sure yet. I have really found that if I figure it out myself first, and I figure stuff out verbally a lot, Logan. So I'm one of those people who likes to talk to other people and muse and then figure out in that process. And that is where my women friends have been invaluable. And so when I finally figured it out myself, then I have enough awareness and handle on it to be specific. And that's a lot easier. I mean, people really, I think, basically appreciate having a clear definition of what somebody wants or needs. Yeah. They may not be able to do it. And that's where, when we've asked clearly and say, this is what I need, and this is, this is what I'm hoping you can give me, and they can't, then that's a disappointment. But our job then is to find a place or places or people who can. If there are things in my marriage that I would love to have, he can't. He would love me to be able to, really be great financially. I don't want to, and I'm lucky. It's just really, there's Teflon on the side of my brain for numbers. I could do it. If he dies, I'll do it. And he would really like me to do that. And I just said, I don't really want to. So I have that incredible luxury of not having to do that right now. Now, I was single. I was married once before, and I was single. And during that single period, I did it.
Yeah.
I hated it. Yeah. So I think learning that no matter what we want and need, some people will be able to fulfill that and some people won't. And it doesn't mean they don't love us. Yeah. It really doesn't. It's just that that's not in their wheelhouse.
Yeah. And if you can't find what you need from other people, is it your job then to give it to yourself?
Well, it always is your job to give it to yourself, even if you can find it from other people. Yeah.
Good. That's so good. Okay, this is the last one, and this from page 6. It's circled, it's highlighted, got stars and hearts beside it. So here it is. Denying or sacrificing ourselves on the altar of others' expectations, or what we perceive to be their expectations, leaves us with no self. Without an awareness of ourself, the courage to express who we are, and the willingness to experience the discomfort and exhilaration that follows, we are not truly living. We are existing merely as mirrors, reflecting other people's lives. How many of us look just like everybody else?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Nobody looks like anybody else if they really look at themselves. Oh, I am so enthralled by the idea that even though I do believe we're all one, it's a concept that I can speak. Yeah. I don't get it, but I believe it. But I also think that even though we're all one, we are these incredible individuated creations.
Yeah.
It blows me away at how different we are and how incredible the Creator, whatever that is, and that we're always being recreated. We're always recreating ourselves, only if we really take the time and the effort to figure out who we are, not if we're doing it on the altar of somebody else's expectations or what we perceive. Because, we make up stuff.
Yeah.
I may think that this person expects me to blah, 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 and they may not care at all.
Yeah.
Or may never have even thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I just, we're so beautiful. And I happen to be a lover of the ocean. And so I sometimes just pick up, I've got sand everywhere from the different places, beaches I've been. If you really look at those in a magnifying glass, none of them are alike. It all blends into, I saw this wonderful pink sand beach, and it was all because of the shells that had gone to make up and so it all looked, if you looked at it, pink, which was pretty cool. But if I took these little bitty and a teeny maybe fine things, but if I put a magnifying glass to those, they were all pink, yes, but they were all incredibly different shapes and different colors of pink, and you and I are looking different,
Yeah.
and isn't it great?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And color does not even matter.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is so good.
This is so much fun.
I know.
Yes.
Is there
So
anything?
come on out to Denver.
Oh my God, my auntie lives in Denver. I'll actually be back there in September, so we'll have to talk.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Cool. Love that. Yeah, I love that.
So is there anything you want to share with the audience? Any way we can support you as a community?
Well, I'll show you the cover of my new book.
Yeah.
And it's this is it.
I love it.
And this one was kind of wrenched from my soul. I just am concerned. I'm very concerned about the state of the world. And I really do think, as I said earlier, that one of the ways to help that come back into balance and harmony is for us to be as strong as we can be, because we as feminine energy, and of course men have feminine energy too, but when we bring that feminine energy up, and a lot of women are doing it, and we're supported by a lot of men, and that's really good, and I feel crucial and necessary and absolutely a must. Yeah.
That's so good. Thank you so much for coming on the Soulcation podcast, Miss Sue. This has been amazing.
It's been so much fun. Thank you, Logan.
Of course.
Thank you.
Everybody that is watching, make sure you subscribe to the Soulcation podcast, as well as Soulcation TV on YouTube. Share this episode with your closest friend and tell them how amazing it was. And we will catch you all on the next episode of the Soulcation podcast. Have a good one.